Hey, how's it going? Hello, guys, gals, or whatever. I'm working on a table. As you can see back in here, that table I put together back here, I'm making sections because that's on. What I'm doing is I cut them to a certain size, then I glue them up and run them through my thickness planer. It's about as big as I can put it width-wise because it won't fit in my thickness planer. So now out comes, and I'm not really particular about this one because it's kind of like a hodgepodgey like garden table thing. So I'm trying to make it look rustic. I'm just trying to get the wood together so I can get it flat enough. It's not supposed to be perfect. It's supposed to look like a shop table almost. Yeah, do I know what I'm doing? Hell no. Okay, so and I'm not looking for perfect on this. So just close enough. Close enough. Actually, I have to take out. Warpage. Warpage. That's the only problem with this is I'm trying to get this straight enough. Yeah. You know what? I'm gonna have to move this out further. There you go. That's better. And then. What's up? Hello. Okay, so that's what happened to me yesterday. Okay, so much for me trying to do a Christmas tree, right? I thought about turning this, but not gonna happen. So what I'll probably do is cut this up and use this for um, pen making. So much for that. That's what happens when you're on. I laid it. Okay, so I made the mold and I put it in the crock pot. Guess what? When I moved it, it must have fell over, and that caused this to do it. Now, there's if you're smart, you get molds that are square and they sit in there and they sit flat and they don't come apart. And that's the biggest problem right there. Okay, so I'll have a discussion here. Last night, okay, at my meeting at my Windy City Turners Club. Okay, so I highly recommend if you guys are in the Fox Valley area, if you want to join it, hit me up. We meet once a month, every month, from about 7. Meeting starts at 7 until about 9:30 or so. And Mark, I forget his name, is the president, and it's great. He does challenges and stuff. It's awesome. And I posted it. I'll post more pictures from last night's event on my YouTube channel. But the guy, Jeff Ward, no, Jeff Hart, I mean, Jeff Ward, Jeff Ward is a motorcycle guy. Okay, Jeff Hart does this kind of stuff, and you should see what his. If you look up Jeff Hart on here, he's got his own YouTube channel. He really knows how to do the resin bowls. Now I've done my resin bowls, and I have my share of issues. Doing resin work is problematic. You're gonna have a problem no matter what. No matter what you do, it always comes out that way. At least for me. Okay, so I should be wearing a. Here's some of my resin work. All right, here. Bowl number one. I shouldn't say bowl number one, but this is coal wood. And what I did is I put a piece of coal wood in a bowl. It was actually in a Cool Whip bowl. Those are my molds. But this is what I came up with. Now there's a couple of things that were wrong here. All right, one is you see the white in there? That's telling me that the wood was not cured enough. Now, I religiously put this in my kiln and pull it out before I put it in the kiln. And the one thing I have a problem with wood is that wood carries moisture. It's okay if you just do a plain bowl. All right, but that's easy to do, just a plain resin bowl. But that's not the effect I want. So the number one issue is when you do bowls, two things you got to be aware of. One is the moisture content in the room and in the wood that you're going to be using, or for anything that you're going to put in your mold. Secondly, that you mix properly the equal parts between the hardener and the other stuff, and you mix it long enough that it will coagulate and gel together and not have an issue with not hardening. Now this is kind of somewhat in a way, this one I just got through doing, somehow it didn't gel. It's a little bit wet up here still. And I think that's because it was leaking out of the bowl. But like I said, that's just an accident waiting to happen there. The mistake I did. So I know what a mistake is. It's a pretty simple one. These that I'm doing here, this one here was, again, I didn't have enough moisture out of it. And if what you should do is if you're going to use any kind of wood, check it. If it's still too much moisture content in it, I've got a moisture meter on it, then don't use it. Keep using it until you either get a dehumidifier for the wood or something. So that's that. Okay, so this one here is basically resin with sawdust in it. Okay, so now if you look at it, see the color content in that? Okay, so now here's what I can tell you is I saved sawdust. All right, here's some leftover savings from resin bowls because I'll make a Christmas tree for that, right? So the idea with this was when I was mixing it, I was going to get a tie-dye type of thing, shirt, except for it didn't work. Sort of. It came out better than I did, but the sawdust, I didn't have a problem with the sawdust. Okay, the only other problem that came up with this was air pockets. So that tells me I didn't mix it enough. But it came out better than I expected it. Okay, so as far as shining, I could probably do a little bit more shining on it, but it's not going to get too much shinier or clear like a glass because of the color content and how dark it is. So that's that one. Right. This one, same thing. Now, I've got this one I started out with. A Cool Whip bowl. All right. What happened though was the bottom part here ended up having pockets of air pockets in it, and that was the red part. All right, and I go, well, that's not right, and that's crap, because it was supposed to look like this, the same shape, right? Well, what I decided one day, I just woke up and I said, hey, I got an idea. Let's put it in a bigger bowl. And so I did that. So this part, what I did is I put what do you call this? I mortised this out, and it came out pretty good. I actually like this bowl. Yeah, again, mixing makes a big difference because you can see the whiteness in it. But I mean, it's a unique bowl. It's kind of cool. I like it. Now, this is the last one I did. It pretty much turned out the way I thought it would. All right, there's a little bit of white on this, but see, it's what I did is I did Osage. All right, I put Osage in here. Same idea with a bigger bowl. Um, and this one came out like I expected it to. I think I did pretty good with the moisture on this, although in the flats out here when I first started it, it was a little white chalky spot. Now that's understandable because at the bottom of the bowl, it's usually the one side that doesn't get the drying as fast. Um, but yeah, that's basically this one's I think is pretty cool. If you see it, you can see the wood in it, and you can see through it a little bit. Okay, so that's Osage. Originally, and I still got a bunch of cutoffs for this, the log I had split like crazy over the years. I've just been laying around here for a few years. All right, so this thing here, what ended up happening is I got bored. I go, I wonder if I put, because I'm always wanting to stick stuff in my molds. It's just, I'm bizarre. Okay, so what can I say? Um, and I do sell these. So Christmas is coming up, folks. And for this bowl here is $36. I have a showroom back in here, the other side. This one here is 24. My coal wood one is 42 because it's coal wood in there, and it's a 30. So any of these are for sale, and I can ship them to you. But again, with me and resin, it's just you have to be so precise that it's problematic to me. I always know that I get in the back of my head, can I ever do a project with resin without it messing up? Now, I've sold a number of these bowls. I want to say this is probably bowl 12 or 13 from start to finish since I've had it. Um, that's probably, if you ask me in woodworking, that's probably the hardest thing to do is resin work. I mean, I don't have a problem with doing mortise and tenon, finger joining, dovetail joints, or stuff like that. It's trying to get the mixture and all the stuff in there with everything completely free of any kind of thing that would cause it to flip off on you. Hey, what's going on there, buddy? Gilroy, welcome to the mess. Bailey's Woodworks. Nice to meet you. Thank you for joining. Anybody that's new, feel free to subscribe. I don't charge anybody. Don't join because I'm not charging anybody. Feel free to leave comments. Tell me I'm stupid, whatever. I don't care. I'm just here to have a good time, and I hope you guys do too. Today, I'm doing a little bit of everything. Okay, so I had to start off with the resin thing. Now, I get this stuff. It's called aluminite, and it's this stuff right here. All right. Now, the idea between each one of these is to make the equal amounts of mixing the same. And it's easy to get off. So, a couple of ways I do it. Now, it depends on if I'm going to put material in here or not. What I have are these, and this is where the dollar store comes in. I'm in the dollar store all the time, trust me. These little cups here, and cups like this, they're cheap at the dollar store. These are my mixing criteria. Now, I forget how many ounces this is. Anyway, I use these when I'm mixing. So what I'll do is I'll take two of them out. One is for the hardener and the other one's for the other stuff. Okay, so equal amounts. And all you do is there's rims on here, there's rings, and you just watch where you mix them. That should be pretty easy, right? I don't really measure, so to speak, other than this. As far as weight, a lot of guys do weight. It depends. I've experimented and it seems to work this way. But again, if you're putting anything with wood in there, a house is like a sponge. You know why? Because wood is in it. Wood absorbs moisture. So unless you get that moisture out of it completely, it's still absorbing moisture. When that goes in, and the biggest thing it does is flake. Now I learned this the first day, the first one I built was just a bunch of cutoffs. All right, so let's say I took a bunch of this stuff here, and all it was cutoffs, and I threw it in a bowl, and they say, "Oh, no problem." Okay, I didn't think about moisture. I didn't think about anything because I didn't think anything. Well, it was smaller than this. It was just scraps I was going to throw away, right? Well, it crusted up big time. I don't know if it's out there or not, but it turned out kind of. People look at it like an oddball thing, and it started out to be as big as this. It ended up like this. It ended up like this. So anyway, I'm gonna bring these. I'm gonna show you what I'm talking about. Lessons to be learned. Now, this is the first bowl I made. So now I shined it up pretty much. But you see the flaky stuff on there? That's a no-no. And I'm still working on it a little bit, but that's about as good as it's going to get. But all it was cutoffs. So I took this to Rock Woodcrafters one day. The guy that does resin work, he talked to me about this. He says, "Guess what, Jeff?" He said, "Here's your problem." Okay, so the second bowl I did was cutoffs from dowel rods. That worked. That worked to a point. Okay, but here's the problem. And those two bowls are gone. The second bowl was the cutoffs from a dowel rod that was about an inch long, different kinds and stuff. Well, what happened was all the cutoff stuff, the smaller stuff, floated to the top. So when I started turning this thing like the other one, it got. I still had a lot of wood left over, but it still the word one place I wanted in the bottom didn't turn out. Okay, so the third one was basically one with wood in it, and it stayed there, and it did. It was actually perfect. All right, I have one more. What did I do with it? I have one more that I did. It was like the fourth one. Now this one turned out good, but the only thing I didn't anticipate was oh, where did I put it? Hang on a second. Hold on. I'll show you. Well, anyway, it was yellow, and what to do with that? Huh? Oh well, it's around here somewhere. The yellow one turned out really good. It has a branch in it, but now the problem is it's a showpiece. All right, so yeah. All right, but moisture is not your friend in woodworking. Case in point. Now, what happened to this bowl, and I like the way it was turning out. I use this for an example. As a bozo no, I guess. When you're, and this is, there's two things wrong with this. One was, for obvious reasons, you're going with the pith. You should be going against the pith. If you're a woodworker, when you're turning bowls, you should go against the pith. All right, which means you should go against the grain of the wood. Not everybody does that. Yeah, what's this one? I forget the name of this. Anyway, this is a good example. This is, the wood is going this way. It's like where its stump was, and the grain is going this way, right? So they cut it. So what are you doing? You're turning against the grain, right? So hopefully this will. I'm trying to make this finish this off. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I like the way it looks. I might just sand this off and. This is what you call live edge. When you have this stuff on here like this, yeah. So, anyway, this here is with the grain, or with pith, I guess, as you would say. But this is small enough, and certain woods will do this. See, this is where you have to educate yourself about wood. Okay, my major in college was forestry, so it helps me with doing this. The biggest problem I still have, though, is I do have a kiln. It's a 55-gallon drum in the back with a heat lamp in it. But here's the thing. I'm in an area where there's a lot of moisture. If I was out west, you'd have to worry about dry rot. Okay, here you have to worry about mold, high contents of moisture. And right now it's snowing outside, so the I don't have humidity. I don't have one of those gauges in here, but I have a moisture meter I check. This here should have waited before I used it. If I was going to turn it with the pith, I would have to wait. I should have had anchor seal on either end of this. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that's going to work. A lot of my woodworking friends turn this shape before they turn it, then they put something on it, seal it, and let it set for a while. Depending on the wood, the softer the wood, the longer. The hardwoods, you don't, like when I'm using red oak, I hardly ever have a problem with it. Whether it's green or not, I very rarely have had that. Walnut, pine, aspen, birch. The thing about birch, though, I've got a bunch of birch in here still. The birch is really cool, but it's really punky, pitty. So when you turn it, you're gonna. I like to do a lot of birch bark bowls, and the birch bark bowls. What I usually do is I take a bowl like this, duct tape it, or not duct tape it. I'll take painter's tape, wrap it around here. First, I go with the sticky side out, and then I go around the second time, and I tighten it. And when I do that, it keeps the bark in place, so that I can turn the bowl in the middle and gouge this all out and have this all cleaned up and not have to worry about losing the bark. And then they go over it with some wipe-on poly or something that seals it. People love that, So this one here, if I wanted to get brave, I probably could cut this in half. What I thought about doing one time was cutting this in half and then putting a piece of dark wood in here. And then, the problem is this is pulled away from this side a little bit more, so this part is out further. So I don't think, or just gluing it back this way, cutting it, but I don't think, I think the separation in this is too far gone, so I use this for teaching people what not to do. This one here was already turned. It was a long log. Somebody had already turned it, but I make boxes out of this. It's really good. I think it's cherry wood. Yeah, it's cherry wood. This stuff is really nice. I made a couple of boxes with this. You just cut it right about here. Take the top off, clear out. I mean, you don't want to shape it until after you get the insides gouged out. Now you can cheat. A lot of times I'll cheat and I'll put this on a jig on my drill press and auger it out with a Forstner bit, and then I'll come back and finish it up with my CI5s carbide tips. So stuff like this, you would think my idea right here was to make a Christmas tree out of this stuff. I don't know. I'm just playing around. I like to recycle stuff. People think I'm nuts, but two things I can tell you about doing stuff like this. You try to cut the stuff on a saw, unless you have a really fine blade on your whatever saw you use. All it does is splinter and shatter and go everywhere. So anyway, question for you guys. Now, I'm looking at making. Okay, now this is what I usually do. I have to show you this first. I make these to fit in here like this, no? And then it goes like this. And what I do is I make resin Christmas trees. All right, so if you take this, you go like this a little bit. It's a little bit, I have to angle it a little bit. But my problem is, when I shape this, I want this top to be a point. So the problem I have with this is, see how it's curved, right? A lot of these snow cone, a lot of these pine cones are curved. It's hard to find one that's straight, all right? So I'm thinking, hey, this is me. That's my cheap version of a Christmas tree. You could take and sprinkle this with some stuff, make it look green. Get that sparkly glitter stuff in there. You could spray some mastic stuff on there and sprinkle it on, and there you go. And you could buy bases like this. I make these really easy. It takes me like 5 minutes to make a base on this out of scrap wood. This is actually a piece of pine from pallet. I got lots of pallet wood. It's great for training and teaching people stuff. And I could actually make furniture with it. That's what I'm doing with that table back there. It's made out of pallet wood, that top. So, this is Jeff's cheap, the Dutchman's cheap version of a Christmas tree. Or I could do this and then take this. I cut the top off here. Take this and extend it a little bit more. I have to figure out a way to seal it here because you're turning it upside down when it goes in a crock pot. And then it adds that much more to the top. Once I cut the top off in here, I'll cut this top off here. I'll tape that so it doesn't do that anymore. I'll tape that down there. And then put the resin in there and then shape it like a Christmas tree with that in there, like that. These make great deals for Christmas trees. I've already made a bunch. I sold a whole bunch last year. But I keep thinking, this is a cheap, if you ever want to do this yourself, all you have to do, you can buy this stuff at Hobby Lobby. You can buy this sort of turn runs. All you have to do is take a drill bit, like a 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch drill bit, and just ream it in the middle just a little bit. Take the pine cones, make sure that they're rounded at the bottom, make them so they'll fit that hole. Glue it down there. I use Gorilla Glue in there, clear glue, not the wood type bond on that. And that's where you go. And then you could paint it to whatever you want. I mean, I see people use decorations and other things. The branches that people put dollars on, those like candy, the chocolate dollars. What is it, for weddings or whatever, You can be creative. You have to think outside the box. Don't be the norm. Don't be like everybody else. Just do something. Just do something. And by all means, make sure that you enjoy it. Because you don't want to make a frustrating thing. Now, here's another thing. See, these two here are coasters. I was trying to make them coasters. And I could never find a piece of wood. There was a small piece of wood. This is Osage. And I don't know. They're still hanging around here collecting dust. What I should do is save these for examples. Now, I love Osage. Kind of like a yellow look to it. If you wet it, I know, it's gross, all right? See, it's got that yellow look to it, and then it turns a little brown. I love this stuff. But the only thing with Osage is around here is it's a lot of spindly stuff. It's around that size. It's hard to find anything bigger. I actually buy it from the Fox Valley Woodworking, Fox Valley, what do you call it? Batavia Hardwoods. This. Oh yeah, that's another thing. I know it's backwards, but they're having a sale on this next month, first weekend of next month. You guys should go there. Fridays or Saturdays is usually the best time. It's Batavia Hardwoods is basically, it's on the Key Street, Batavia. If you need more info about that, I can tell you. They're great guys. And oh, by the way, they're in my club too. So, like I was saying, here's some, I don't have them. But, like this, I was making something for the boss for her glass, and she didn't like it, so this one will probably be plain down. But this is a piece of walnut. Now you can do the same thing that I was doing here. Make it. If you wanted to be creative, you actually could double tier it, make it look kind of cool. So, oh yeah, 2x4s. You ever see a 2x4? It's a popular 2x4. So now I've done this before. I've taken this, cut it in sections, and made a box out of this. And it turns out really nice when you stain it. It's got kind of a green tint to it. And I don't care about the holes because that actually acts like an accent to it. So I don't get rid of anything. Okay, here's another thing for you. This. That's the top off of a piece of pine, cherry wood that I was cutting with a chainsaw. What I'm doing is I'm going to make candles can sit on this. What you do is you put this on drill press and you strategically drill a couple of holes that match whatever size candles you want. So let's say I was going to do 2-inch candles. I go 1, 2, 3. You can, if you do it right, the idea is you could still, and then you seal it. Once you drill the holes, you seal it. This one here won't sit flat because I have to go through the sand it with a belt sander. Can't throw this through the thickness planer because it'll go all over the place. But yeah, and I can't cut with a crap either. Anyway, okay, so again, I'll go back to my question. Which would you prefer? For me to take and decorate this like a Christmas tree, or to do it this way with resin and see what happens? That'd be my question to you guys. And give me an answer. Leave me a question. If you want to ask a question, leave me a question. Who we got here? Oh, this? Kilroy, you talking about this? Or are you talking about my resin thing? Well, here's the problem. You want to see why I said I don't know if I can do it? See it? See, there's about 2/16 of an inch difference. It's higher here than it is here. And I thought about putting this in water and seeing if it'd shrink back enough. I think I can, but I don't know. This thing, if you're talking about this, I'll just square this off and use this for pins. That'll be my that'll work. There's sawdust in there, by the way. So, and again, I can tell people, if you're into resin, what makes things cool is the sawdust thing. This thing was kind of it was a disappointment in a way, because you can see it's chunked out. I mean, it was actually supposed to be that much higher. But, I try to reuse things, and I thought for a long time, I actually had a center in this, and I wasn't going to finish it. But I said, it was a fun project. If it could be an oddball thing in somebody's house, I'm okay with that, because I am oddball. So, today's subject, though, is I'm working on a couple of things. I'm working on that table. Now, the problem I have with that is I've had to run, all this wood through. This was basically stuff I got from the pallet, and I got some really long stuff. And then what I did is I run one side, well, both sides, but one side more than the other side, and ran it through my thickest planer first. Then I cut it to a certain size. Now, the one thing that I could have, that I come across when I'm gluing this stuff up, is knots. Knots right here. Some of the knots that are on it, plus this. So, that's not a problem, though, in my way, because what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to drill that out. And, unless I've got the knot, I might have the knot. Okay, so if I have the knot, I'll glue it back in, but the idea was, right here, where the joints are, I'm going to drill 2 holes here, and 2 holes on this end. Guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to put dowels in there. I'm going to make it look like it's a wood floor tabletop. That's the idea. Now, whether it works or not, I don't know. But the biggest problem I have right now is getting it straight enough to when I run it through the thickest planer, everything is going to glue together. Because I'm doing it in 4 sections, I think, 4 or 5. And that's back here. When I'm doing this, I've got to make sure that these, once they dry, that I can run it through on one side and not worry about, it's got to all be flat. Now all these pieces of wood are 3/4 of an inch. If you do it right, I'll go through, it'll be about 5/8 if they're all flat. Because what will happen is when I do the 3 sections, or the 4 sections, what will happen is I have to make sure that they're glued together. Once I get them glued together and flat, and there is no waviness, then I can, basically finish it when I go to sand it. If there's waviness and it's out of whack by even a fraction of an inch, that means more sanding, and that's probably where the section where I'm going to have to go in and use my belt sander. Now, I'm fly by night with this, only because I don't want to spend any money on this tabletop. If it doesn't work, firewood, because it's just pallet wood, and I'm just monkeying around. That table, once I'm done, either I'm going to sell it, give it to somebody, or send it to the Salvation Army. My next table that I make is going to be like the last one I made. My last one I made, I posted the pictures on there. 100% oak wood flooring table. It's all out of this stuff. And what I did is I glued a lot of this together. It took some doing. You also have to have a jig if you're going to do anything when it comes to furniture making. So, With that note, I'm gonna let you go. I can see what's going on. I'm missing something. I gotta go find. But when I start on making another table, I'm gonna start from scratch. I'm gonna say this is gonna be table lessons 101. This is how I do things. There's a lot of professionals out there, but I like doing certain things. I could be like everybody else, but I'm not. So anyway, with that note, I'll let you guys go. Remember, be creative. Again, if you're in Northern Illinois, you want to there's a couple of them right here. You can go to the Chicago Wood, which I think it meets in Arlington Heights, or you could be in the one I'm in, Naperville, and it's the Windy City Turners. Look them up. They're on YouTube. They have a channel, and I'm in there somewhere. All right, and then you got me. So, questions or comments, or whatever you want to do, I kindly would appreciate your inbox me and let me know if there's something I have that I showed you earlier that you would interested in. Oh, by the way, this thing is $36. So if you want to see my first ball I ever turned out of rest, it is for sale. All right. God bless you. Now remember, always be creative. Make sawdust. Even if you only make sawdust, be creative with the sawdust. Make something out of the sawdust. I have done that, and I'm proof there is sawdust in here. God bless you guys. Have a great afternoon, and I'll talk to you later. Thanks.